Can I just initially welcome the recent announcement in the budget for the addition of, in terms of numbers of Gardaís and administration staff. That's a welcome announcement initially, and I suppose that will go a long way to helping tackle the issue I'm about to raise. Can I just ask the Minister what the Government's position is regarding tackling knife crime, and if you could detail to members what new initiatives Government will undertake to address this issue?
Minister Brown.
I thank Deputy O'Sullivan for bringing this very important issue to the Dáil today, and this very serious issue of crimes involving knives. I share the concerns of deputies across the House with regard to the issue of knife crime. We are all familiar with the problems which have emerged in neighbouring jurisdictions in this regard, and the Government is determined to ensure similar problems do not develop here in Ireland. While the problem is not of a similar scale here, any stabbing incident can cause irreparable physical harm and have potentially tragic consequences. That is why a comprehensive and robust legal framework is in place with respect to knife crime, including heavy penalties for breaches of the laws concerned. Under the provisions of the Criminal Justice Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 2009, the maximum penalty for a conviction for possessing a knife in a public place without good or reason or lawful authority was increased from 1 to 5 years. And An Garda Síochána also have an extended power of search without warrant in relation to knives and offensive weapons. I advise that a substantial number of convictions have been secured in the courts over the past number of years for possession of a knife or other similar articles. As one might expect, statistics on seizures of knives by Gardaí in the period from 2005 to 2019 show that this is an issue primarily among younger people, with 44% of seizures relating to individuals from the ages of 12 to 23 and 65% to individuals under the age of 30. An Garda Síochána is currently operating a reduction strategy 2019 to 21, which is targeted at tackling all types of assaults in public, including use of knives, and this strategy is informed by a pro-arrest, early investigation and proactive high-visibility approach. It places particular emphasis on prevention, education and awareness, and the strategy promotes early prosecution of offenders where feasible and operationally appropriate. An Garda Síochána also addresses knife crime through education and engagement with community initiatives. At an operational level, Gardaí proactively target public disorder and antisocial behaviour, including knife-related crime, through the strategic deployment of Garda resources, and areas identified as public order hotspots by local Gardaí management are the subject of additional foot and mobile patrols.
Thanks, Minister. Deputy O'Sullivan.
Minister, last year there were more than 140 seizures of knives, shivs and other such weapons in Cork, up from 130 the previous year. I understand that incidents may be down this year, but nonetheless the trend in serious incidents of knife crime are obvious. Does the Minister have access to figures for this year, the number of crimes committed using a knife, the number of incidents where a knife has been seized, both in Cork and nationally? Could the Minister also clarify what the Government's position is on minimum mandatory sentencing, or if the Government's intention to increase the maximum sentence for crimes perpetrated with knives is under consideration? Thank you.
Brown.
I thank the Deputy. So far this year, reports of assault have decreased against the same period last year, due in part to the increased restrictions of movement due to COVID-19. Indeed, there has been a reduction in reported crimes against persons in the first 2 quarters this year versus last year, and according to the Central Statistics Office, in Q1 assault causing harm fell 23.9% and Q2 fell 16.9% against the same periods. In relation to specific statistics in terms of issues in relation to the age of criminal offences, 16% of all knife crime has been between 12 and 17 years, while 18 to 23 years account for 28% and 24 to 29, 21%. So this issue very much arises with younger people, and it's an issue that will be addressed with in terms of our youth justice strategy that will be published before the end of the year. I don't have the specific statistics in relation to Cork to hand, but I will endeavour to get those for the Minister. In relation to sentences, and these issues are always kept under continual review by the Department, and if any reason or view is taken that they need to be changed, they very much will be done so. Thank you.
Thanks, Minister. Deputy O'Sullivan.
Minister, thank you for the response again. As I'm sure you and others are aware, we've had a number of incidents in Cork City and County over the last 12 months in which particularly heinous crimes were committed with the use of knives. Many of these incidents have involved physical assaults, sexual assaults and serious harm caused to victims. Can the Minister clarify if there is any intention to bring forward a knife amnesty for certain types of blades or other implements that could be taken off the streets, akin to the Bin the Blade campaign run by the government in the 1990s. Recently in the UK, over 20,000 knives were taken off the streets in a similar amnesty, and I'm just wondering, is it the government's intention to bring forward a similar plan? Thank you.
Deputy Minister.
The Deputy for raising this very important issue, and I know of his genuine concerns around this issue, and in particular in his own area of Cork. And as I stated, I would expect that the Gardaí do have, in fact, a proactive approach to these kind of issues where hotspots are developing, that they can intervene very early to address the issue at an early stage. The Youth Justice Strategy that will be published towards the end of this year will also be important in terms of providing full wraparound interventions where these issues are arising, and we'll also be establishing an anti-social behaviour forum as well, so that we have a full suite of interventions for these kind of issues. In relation to an amnesty to tackle knife crime, I completely sympathise with the objective of conducting an amnesty in order to do something constructive in the face of every tragic incident involving the use of knives or similar items. However, the consistent expert advice from Garda Síochána is that such an amnesty is not likely to yield to any significant benefits. Indeed, I think it is well understood that in many instances, ordinary household kitchen knives are used in such crimes, and it has not been experienced that knives of this type are handed in during an amnesty. I am, however, assured by the Garda authorities that tackling knife crime remains a top priority for the organisation. Gardaí tackle this issue by way of rigorous enforcement policy, education and awareness-raising programmes, and have an extended power of search without warrant in relation to knives and offensive weapons. And I thank the Deputy again for raising this important issue.
Thanks, Minister.